What are you doing with Bitcoin right now? Are you buying or selling?
Whenever I have some spare cash, we buy more Bitcoin. Yeah, we're taking a very, very long view toward this. The network's only getting better. Adoption is improving. Very constructive regulation is coming out of DC. And the Lightning Network is moving us closer to Satoshi's promise of letting everybody in the world trade with each other at the speed of light in a fair and equitable fashion.
So you're buying?
Yeah, I'll be buying at the top forever, right? The maximalists believe Bitcoin's an instrument of economic empowerment. I'm not trying to time in the market.
Right.
I just want to be in it.
So there's Michael Saylor, a brief excerpt. He's sitting there telling you he's not trying to time the market. He's just trying to be in it. He's just trying to get exposure to the scarcest asset in the world. So keep this in mind. He's not trying to trade in and out of Bitcoin. He's just buying and holding. That's why the ETFs, along with MicroStrategy, is a big game changer in the crypto ecosystem. Will we get the traditional 70-80% pullbacks in the bear markets? That might not happen anymore. So make sure you're prepared for that scenario. And before we get started, make sure you guys go ahead and smash that like button. I'm Sean with the Bitcoin Bros. We're gonna get straight into it. Taking a look at our first update from Matthew Hyland. Bitcoin has destroyed a lot of narratives over the past few years, to the downside and upside, such as never going below the previous cycle low or all-time highs until after the halving. If there is one narrative that is nearly 100% accepted, it's diminishing returns. And then he's saying, I don't know what happens, but since every narrative is being crushed, this narrative is essentially the final boss and would require Bitcoin to go above $240,000. What that would mean is, take a look at this chart here. We see that from peak to peak, 2017 to 2021 peak, we went up 244%. So for Bitcoin to break this narrative, like it's done other narratives, the all-time high before the halving has happened. We've seen that. And if it goes from the 245%, that would take Bitcoin up over $240,000. At the current time it's recording, we see Bitcoin coming in at 68.7K. And what do we see? What do we anticipate? If we look here, we see that this is the first candle on a weekly candle that can potentially close above this macro resistance level. This acted as resistance back in 2021 in April and November as well for the $69,000 peak. So are we going to get a close at these levels and stay above this orange line? This is what you have to pay attention to. And note that if you connect these peaks here, if you extend this green line, if Bitcoin comes up to retest this before getting rejected, potentially a rejection, could blast past it, there's no guarantee, but this is the next level to pay attention to. That is the $75,000 to $85,000 range. And looking at the LMACD, we still have some room to come up to the upside before we hit our head on this blue line. Every time we hit our head, this showed the past few peaks. Will this go higher, or will it hit its head and come down for a retracement? You be the judge. Before we continue, make sure, if you haven't done so already, check us out on our Patreon. It's linked below. We have a couple seats left at this price, so make sure, if you want to get more exclusive content from the Bitcoin Bros, to check us out there. And continuing, Rational Root is saying plus 7K Bitcoin net inflows to ETFs. Fidelity records its biggest inflows yet, while Grayscale sees continued outflows. So once again, look at this here. Outflow, 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 outflow. How much more outflow is Grayscale going to have? Because once this outflow stops, this is really going to cause a parabolic spike in the price. So as you see, from BlackRock all the way down to Wisdom Tree on this chart, we're still net positive every single day. So what if these 5,000 a day got took away? This would be 12,000, almost 10,000, 10,000, 13,000. So major net inflows are continuing to push the narrative and push all-time highs. The Rational Root is known for coming up with this, the left translated cycle. So we have an expert talking about this today. That expert's Raoul Paul. Let's hear from Raoul and what his take is on the left translated cycle, and if we're going to get a blow off top sooner rather than we anticipated. So let's hear from Raoul.
Cycle to me is driven by the macro. That macro cycle has been a 3.5-year, 4-year cycle, and it's the same cycle in all assets. So I don't see any reason the cycle would change unless we create some sort of weird monster bubble in crypto, or we just got a very strong cycle on our hands. Some cycles are stronger than others. And the last cycle, I thought cut short. I thought there should have been a next leg higher. I thought it should have got to 100, and it didn't. And I think people have PTSD from that. And so I think they're fearful of screwing it up again and getting too bullish. And I actually think there's actually more of a fear of something like 2013, where it kind of had a dip. Everyone thinks it's over, and then it went up like another 4x, something stupid. I think the bubble cycle's actually maybe a higher probability now than this left translated. When I talk to people about the left translated, when you ask them, it's just PTSD. From the everything code work that I've done, that I've talked extensively about, it should be, normally, it's right towards the very end of 2025. Now, could it be a little bit earlier, but normally the crypto cycle ends in November, December, every time. And if you just step away and say, it's a slightly more aggressive start than we've had. Why? Because we've got an aggressively more amount of capital has access to the space. So it kind of makes sense. At a very top level, more people have access to it, goes up more. Fine.
So there you have it from Raoul Paul. He's sitting there telling you that this cycle isn't going to be any different. There's no left translated. There's some folks that have PTSD from the last hype cycle in 2021 because a lot of people bought the top, and there's a lot of people that got pushed away from crypto during that narrative. Well, we don't fully agree with this narrative. We could get a hype cycle that comes sooner than most people anticipate. The reason is this chart here. Once this grayscale selling stops and slows down and dissipates, and this buying pressure continues, and then say grayscale starts to turn around and continue to buy, what is that going to look like? How many Bitcoin are going to be being bought on a daily basis? We haven't even seen retail FOMO return yet to the markets. So we could get that blast up before people anticipate. It might not go that far into 2025, and it could actually happen by 2024. You heard it here first. So with that, before you leave, if you haven't checked this out, you want more exclusive content, want to be able to talk to the Bitcoin Bros directly, make sure you check out our Patreon. And with that, I'm Sean with the Bitcoin Bros. You guys like this content, go ahead and smash the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and show us some love. We appreciate the support. With that, that's all I have for you today, and I'm out.